Hi, it's Levi coming at you from before the episode.
It's Weenie and the Butt coming at you from 97.1 FM.
Thanks, Jen. We found that in the recording for this episode, there was some audio feedback, which we have tried to minimize in the editing process, but it's still there a couple times. So apologies, and we have hopefully corrected the issue for the next recording. Anyway, here's the episode. Please enjoy.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Pod Return to the Waking Sands. We are a Final Fantasy XIV companion podcast where we explore the lore and story of Hydaelyn and beyond. My name is Jen, and I'm joined by my co-host and researcher.
I'm Levi.
Hello, Levi.
Perfect, Jen.
I did it.
You done it. Nailed it. How's it going there, Jen?
It's fine. I got the the Seeker of Blood achievement because of this, which is you just complete all of the. I mean, you got yours a million years ago, but you complete all the Disciples of War quests up to level 30.
Got it. Well, congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
There's like an achievement for every block you bring forward.
Yeah.
We are here to talk about the Archer class. Archer has appeared as a dedicated class in a couple past Final Fantasies. In Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy XII, it's one of the jobs available. It's also in a handful of side titles. In Final Fantasy XIV, it leads into the Bard class. Archers use bows as their weapon.
Just bows?
Just bows. No, there's no crossbows. They don't exist.
No, I mean, no arrows. They're just wandering around swinging their bow.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah. Just whacking things.
A number of the high-level bows look like musical instruments.
Poking things.
That is not... Anyways, I was trying to tell you, Jen, that a number of the high-level bows look like musical instruments, which is a nice touch.
Haven't gotten there yet. What kind of musical instruments do they look like?
Typically stringed ones.
I see.
Like harps or lutes or whatever.
Okay.
Mechanically, Archer is a pretty fleshed out class as far as the 1 to 30 classes go. It has a total of 2 damage over time abilities, which is 1 more than most classes get.
Yeah.
And also a lot for the game in general. And for most fights, you'll want to keep your dots going at all times, like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Later on as a bard, you get an ability actually that renews them both with 1 shot. So
Wow.
It makes them more efficient when you just do 1 attack to up them both versus having to refresh each individually.
Yeah.
Your bread and butter shot is the heavy shot. This has a chance to trigger straight shot ready, which lets you fire a straight shot, which is a high potency attack.
That thing procs hardly at all, it seems.
It's 20%.
Can you fix that with materia or
No,
anything?
you cannot.
It is what it is?
It's the trait that gives you this straight shot ability. It's not tied to materia or anything. So
I
no,
see.
It's not like a crit or something that
All right.
that procs it.
I should probably change that from the button that it's on right now.
Probably.
Yeah. It's on a mouse button, which is prime real estate.
For your playstyle, maybe, yes.
Yes.
On top of that, you have a 2-minute cooldown damage buff and an off-global cooldown attack to weave in as well, and that is Archer, which,
Or
again...
Bloodletter.
Yes, it's a lot of complexity for a basic class.
I would agree. Yeah, doing this, you get Bloodletter really quickly.
Yep.
And so then you learn the weave,
Yeah.
which isn't really a thing you get on other classes. Yeah.
Like Dragoon from last week, there's thrust and thrust more and buff thrust.
Pretty boring.
And that's it, pretty much.
God.
So the gameplay for Archer, of course, is you want to get your dots on a target, and then you're going to weave in your, Bloodletter?
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll fish for the straight shot procs at
Yep.
that point.
Yep.
Blam, there you go.
Blam.
None of these abilities have cast bars or positionals. You can hop around like an idiot and keep your DPS up, no problem.
It's great. Yeah, it's summoner vibes.
Just don't hop into a cleaving attack for the boss, and you're good to go. In Eorzea, archery has its roots in the longbow techniques of the Elezen and the shortbows that were used by the Miqo'te. The style taught by the Archers Guild is a fusion of both the long and shortbow techniques. The Elezen background is interesting because the Elezen developed stringed instruments based off their archery, as in like their bows. So the bow led into the creation of whatever that they played, harps or lutes or guitars or what have you.
Do you think, what sort of material do you think they were using for the strings on these stringed instruments? Do you think it was catgut?
Maybe curl gut. But yes, probably some either sinew or organ.
Do you think that maybe has factored into the hostility between Wildwood Elezen and Miqo'te?
No.
Because it's a joke, so it's not a serious posit here.
No, because we have not featured Miqo'te yet, as far as the peoples of Eorzea, because we have not yet met a Miqo'te population hotspot. They are supposed to be part of the 12's Wood kind of people, but Gridania is heavily concentrated in terms of Hyur and Elezen. And there are a few Miqo'te there, but not very many, even though in the lore of the game, it's said that the Miqo'te tribes that hunt the 12's Wood had enmeshed themselves into Gridanian culture. We don't have all the details, obviously, but before the Wildwood Elezen came to the 12's Wood, they were plains hunters, so maybe they met a Miqo'te or two, but I don't think the two peoples had much overlap until they were forced together by circumstance and Hyurian expansion.
I agree, and that's when they started calling the Miqo'te for their instrument manufacturing needs. Pretty brutal, pretty gross, if you ask me.
This is not in the official canon, but we can't disprove it.
It's true.
No one says they didn't, so...
And the burden of proof is on me, so I'll get back to you.
Okay, thanks, Jen. Stay tuned for that. The Archers Guild in Gridania came from the Trappers League. The League would manage hunting practices to avoid offending the elementals, and then the Archers Guild split off from the League to focus on bowmanship specifically, as opposed to, like, spear hunting or traps or what have you. To become an archer, we must go, of course, to the self-same Archers Guild in Gridania. It's in a fairly isolated corner to rival the Conjurers Guild. However, there's an Aetheryte right outside, so once you get there, you're good to go.
No more walking.
No more walking. The guildmaster is Lucien Cornet?
Cornet is a little pretentious.
Cornet.
Yeah.
I'm not corny,
Lucien
I'm
Corn.
Cornet. The guildmaster is Lucien Corn, a Wildwood Elezen. Lucien's father was in the God's Quiver, but she decided to focus purely on bowcraft rather than follow in his footsteps. So to join up, we talk to Lucien. She talks up the dedication needed to wield the bow, and we must resolve ourselves to an arduous journey. So Jen, will you dedicate yourself to archery?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, sure.
That's 3 for 3 for lame Gridania class intros.
Yeah, I know. Where's the pun? Where's the flavor? Where's the anything? Will you commit yourself to being an archer? Like, okay. What would be a better...
It could be just like, will you resolve to keep your eyes open and your wits
something about vision.
Something.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Vision is the key here. Just like courage was with Lancer, vision is the archer thing. Open your eyes. Trust your eyes. Your special eyes.
Our first task, of course, is to go and kill some animals. This is finally a thematic first step, as archery has its roots in hunting. So this one makes sense at last. After we are done connecting with archery's origins, we get back to the guild, and we get a lecture from Lucien about the keen sight needed by archers. We must remain vigilant for any trace of our target. To practice, we have to tromp around Gridania and plug several archery targets that are concealed throughout the city.
We gotta hit a bunch of butts.
Nice.
Yeah. Poking butts.
Plug them butts.
Yeah. Plug them right up.
What do you think about this, Jen? This task?
It's weird. I mean, it's a little scavenger hunt, but
it's interesting as far as the class quests go because none of them have this vague end objective. it's usually pretty straightforward what to do.
You're very much on rails for everything else.
Yeah.
Like, you start here and you go to where the little golden bubble is. And in Archer has a lot of these where you've got to walk around and find things. They give you like a general area and you got to run around and find them, which is unique. And it's kind of cute. It's better when you're out in the wild, because then you do have to like focus on some of the mobs that are around, and when they turn around and they walk away, you can find openings in getting your butts hit without we're 12 without procking a mob.
Aggroing a mob.
Yeah, procking. We're procking mobs and we're aggroing skills. Yeah, without that, which is, I mean, it doesn't matter because it's really easy to get by.
This is very thematic. I think, you are actually practicing what is preached, which is kind of a hit and miss for these class quests. Sometimes they'll go on some grand, eloquent rant about something, then you go kill 5 boars.
Right.
And then you learn the lesson somehow.
Yeah.
But this one, you are using your actual player's eyes to look out for these things. They're not super well hidden, but they are concealed to an extent.
Yeah. They're not hella obvious.
I feel like this would be the most fun if I were a brand new player to the game. First time in Gridania.
Yeah.
And then this were a level 1 quest where I've not actually gone and explored the city yet.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
After I've already been there, it's like, yep, we're by the Aetherite again. We're by the inn.
Yep. And running around, throwing arrows at archery targets that have been placed around town. Obviously, this is where you learn where Gridania doesn't really give a shit about liability. And everybody else considers it totally normal. Like, okay, no, new archer to the guild is practicing their craft.
Oh, it's every 5 minutes.
No one has ever missed, and no civilian casualties yet. Amazing.
The saving grace here is that there are more targets than you need to hit. So it's not some pixel hunt shit where, you walk past a target.
Right. You're looking for that one for 15 freaking minutes.
Exactly.
No, that was a godsend, honestly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good for them for not making you do that. We do that task. Once that's done, we're on to the next challenge. We're going to go kill some Miqo'tes and some opo-opos, plants and monkeys.
Fun words.
The theming here is that every enemy has their own strengths and vulnerabilities, and a hunter will study a target, assess them fully before you join combat, which translates not at all to actual gameplay.
Not at all. Never.
You just roll up and shoot some of these guys,
and
like, down they go.
They're like, well, if you study the opo from afar, you will see that they use a ranged attack. So you have to be it doesn't matter if you're standing, 10 yams or 1 yam away from them, they will hit you with it. Yep. So it doesn't matter. But still, cute flavor.
It's good flavor, but these things where the gameplay does not match at all the flavor, it kind of makes me wonder about, I guess, like the missed opportunity. Because we've had a lot of these things where they talk, we just talked about this earlier on, but when they talk something up and then you do it, is noticeable.
Like the pugilist one where you have to run around Ul'dah.
Yep.
And they're like, well, sprint because you need to do it fast. You need to collect these piles of money quickly around town. But it doesn't matter. It's not like there's a timer. You don't have to sprint at all.
The timer is your patience.
I guess, yeah. I was hoping that they could time it so that you would had to, fine tune the use of your sprint in the most opportune moment.
Yep.
To maximize, to min-max the sprint basically, but it doesn't matter. So if I were if Jen were a brand new player, brand new to the game, brand new to Gridania, and Archer was my first class, and they gave me something like, make sure you observe your prey from afar and note that the Miqo'te is poisonous.
Oh, this would freak you out so much.
I would have been like, okay, I'm observing, nothing's happening. I would have taken it to heart and had a hard time. Yeah,
that would be hilarious, Jen, because as we recall Jen's first experience with this game, where she was afraid to leave Ul'dah because she didn't have like a sword, and you were terrified of the level 1 enemies that you almost can't lose to.
Yeah.
Just seeing this quest text and like watching these monkeys, studying them for an opening. For like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then probably, oh no, they got me, and then I would run away until they stopped chasing me, and then I'd go back and watch them again. It would have been stupid. But this is a Jen experience because I've never played this type of game before. Now I know better. I learned.
So much.
Learned a lot playing this game. I'm embarrassed, actually.
After we report back, we get introduced to a Miqo'te. This is
Leopo. So Leopo. Is she related to
Wait,
Chloe?
is the A silent?
No, her name is spelled Leih.
I'm talking about the last name.
Leopo.
Oh, Leopo.
I've been pronouncing it Lee.
Sure.
Sure, yeah. Leopo. Like Chloe and Zoe. Leopo is I don't know if it's a common surname for Miqo'te, like, Smith or Johnson.
Yes. Chloe and Zoe. Oh my God.
Zoe.
Chloe. What the fuck?
Chloe
and Zoe.
There you go.
Are both Leopos as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, is this like, is it like the win of Miqo'te surnames?
Here we go. This is real-time research.
Ooh, here we go.
A Leopo is an old bloodline, so the name is extremely common.
Got it. Okay.
Because the Keepers of the Moon passed their names on. They're a, what do you call it, like a matriarchal tribe.
Aha, yes.
So, this would be passed on then from mother to daughter. Because the Miqo'te tend to have more cat girls than cat boys, this then propagates these names substantially.
Fair. Okay, that all checks out.
Anyways.
So, not related. Of no relation.
Yeah.
But Chloe and Zoe are also Keepers of the Moon.
Of distant relation, more likely.
Sure, yeah.
Lee sounds wrong to me, but...
I mean, it depends on, which language you're basing your phonetics, on which you're basing your phonetics. Lee is possible. Lay is possible, but for some reason, Lay just sounds unfinished to me.
Okay. We'll go with Lee then.
All right. Correct us if we're wrong.
These are never voice acted, so I guess like a linguist probably could figure it out.
I'm sure people out there speak Klingon. So I'm thinking people have probably researched naming conventions for Miqo'te and would have a little bit more insight for us.
So anyway, we are introduced to Lee Leopo. It's her second year with the guild. This, of course, as discussed, this is a Keeper of the Moon Miqo'te. It sounds like she was snooping on us during our last trial, but we didn't notice because we're noobs. We're noobs, and we are not mindful of our surroundings.
Not yet, anyway.
This invites a jibe from another lurker. This is an Elezen named Silver.
This guy. Oh, you just want to eat him up.
No.
I mean, it's very apparent that he's trying to keep everybody at arm's length.
He is what is it in the Sundere?
Sundara?
Yeah, Sundara.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
Yeah. So he's going to be very gruff and aggressive, and I don't want to be your friend. You don't want to be my friend. And then you're like, no, you're so hurt. There's so much pain inside of you, and you just want to give him a hug. And he's going to resist for like 5 seconds, and then he'll just sob into your arms and say, I'm in so much pain. And then you guys are besties, and yeah, you can see right into his soul immediately.
He never lets up. Ever. Even after he, quote, softens, he still has to have his, like, I'm too cool for everyone.
Sure.
Jibey jibes.
I see you, Silver.
I don't care if he has the heart of gold. I still find him tiresome to the end. I don't think...
Oh, for sure.
Just
because... he won't give it up. Even after it's, like, Lee will pierce his exterior.
Yeah, even though... If you can't calm the fuck down, guy, then I just don't want to spend time with you. I don't care if I quote, know the truth behind your words or whatever. If you're going to nonstop diss me every fucking second, I'm not going to hang out.
The way he throws the frequency at which he throws the word savage around towards Lee is really fucked up.
Yep.
And I consider if you're an Elezen, if you're anybody, and you call a Miqo'te savage, that's essentially a 4-letter word. That's a slur.
Yeah.
In the way you're using it. It's almost a slur. The way he refers to us is just, quote unquote, that adventurer. So yeah, he's trying really hard to keep people at a distance. Really hard. Like, yeah, no, he's an asshole.
Yes. So.
But
Lee here, she nicely says we need to be more aware of our surroundings, and then Silver jumps on this opportunity to step out from the back room and diss us, diss her, diss everyone in sight.
Mm-hmm.
Jibes and insults.
I'm like, Lucienne, you're just going to allow this guy to do this.
She
and it's
does.
also, she does.
She's a fucking enabler, honestly. Like, she's like, oh, he doesn't mean it. You can tell when he's telling, when his heart and his
She
mind.
hasn't locked that shit down, and she really should have.
Yeah.
I mean, she'll shut him down in some moments, but she should not be allowing that type of rhetoric to be just thrown around inside her fucking guild.
Yep.
I also think it's funny that he just hangs out by the God's Quiver entrance, you know? Like,
Yep.
he's got problems.
Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
As inferred just there, Silver is a former God's Quiver member. As a reminder, the God's Quiver are the elite archers of Gridania.
Yeah, the elite of the elite.
Yep. But after he's done telling everyone that they suck, he just says that we should be kicked out of the guild because after our 10 minutes of tasks,
clearly
we're not worthy and will never be worthy to be an archer.
No, yes. I'm like, okay. Who hurt you? Himself, yeah.
Another thing of note here for Silver is that he is an old guard Gridanian. Because as we know from the first Gridania episode, Gridania is formerly a very xenophobic nation, but they recently have opened up their doors to outsiders under the leadership of Connie Senna.
Yeah.
But not everyone in Gridania is behind this, and he is like the worst of the worst as far as this is how it has been and how it should be forever. Yeah. All these people who were not born here don't belong here. So this is his mindset.
Right. Though I will offer a little bit, somewhat of a caveat to what you said. Rakane, she's the reason why there has been a more of an open border policy with Gridania. But a lot of the guild masters as well have, you know, in years past, decades past, have also opened their own doors. And we discussed this last time with, it was Lancer.
Yes.
Yeah. So the guild master, this was probably a decade or two prior, couple decades,
yes.
2 decades, where he purposefully wanted, you know, schools of thought on Lansing from all over, you know, Heidelin, really, to come in and teach and make his guild that much more well-rounded. So it takes a village.
Sure, that's fair. It has been kind of a softening over time until the recent, like, official opening, but that there were breaches in the hedge before then. Little Black Shroud humor for you there, Jen. Moving on. For our next task, we get to hang out with Lee. She is now in charge of our training for this leg of our apprenticeship. She wants us to go and take out some more targets, this time in the Central Shroud. Like archery targets. Yeah. So, Jen, you did this on Otis, right? Your Lala new character?
Yeah.
How was this for you when you were leveled to the area?
It was fine, but again, I think the lesson that they're trying to teach you about observing from afar and just taking note of the behavior of these mobs, it's more crucial when you are a fledgling adventurer in all respects, because you can't just, you know, chocobo out of there or whatever. And when you're appropriately leveled, getting into a skirmish is more of a risk. But that said, it was still, you know, it was cute. It was not, you know, death is looming around every corner.
I feel like this would be a lot more fun if this is not the structure of the game, so it couldn't happen given the way it's kind of organized with a separate class and MSQs. But if they could guarantee that you had this quest up when you were doing your MSQ in the Black Shroud and Central Shroud, having these be all over the place and not
just in like a 2-block radius or whatever.
Yeah, so like you could be doing your MSQ and we cover 2/3 of Central Shroud during the Gridania MSQ. And then if you could just like, you know, spy a target, plug it, and keep going as you're doing that, that seems like a fun way to kind of keep your eyes open. If they follow the same philosophy they have, where they have more targets than there are required numbers.
Oh, it's like hidden Mickeys.
I don't know what that is, but
yeah, no, it's when you go to Disneyland or any sort of Disney property, there are hidden Mickeys, and so it's this ongoing scavenger hunt for people, usually just diehard Disney people, to find a Mickey Mouse silhouette hidden in architecture or artwork or, stonework, and they're everywhere.
Sure.
So, and I guess it's kind of like, what is it, Super Mario Odyssey, where you've got to find all the stars. I don't know if it's Odyssey or
there are so many.
Mario 64. No, it's Mario 64.
Collectathons are not unique to any one game.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, but so it's like it's just like a secret achievement you can get if you find all the targets.
See, that's the thing though. I hate that shit where there is an incentive to essentially either wiki it up or make yourself go crazy. Like the way it's done now, where there are more targets than you need, is great. If there's a reason to find every single one, you're probably just going to have to go on a wiki at this point in time, which...
Yeah, it's going to be like the golden walnut problem all over again for you.
Yes, exactly. So fuck that. Don't make your games rely on wikis. That's my personal stance. Thanks.
Fair. But I like your idea. I think that's fun.
Anyway, thank you. As it is, though, there is maybe like a quarter-mile max that you have to plug these targets in. So not too bad.
They're in fun spots, though.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Once that's done, we go and kill some more animals in East Shroud. This is an old-fashioned culling, nothing special. Whatever. Then we return back to the guild, and Lee reminisces over her moving to Gridania and the Miqo'te hunting practices that she learned before she cuts herself off and gets back to business.
We're trying to keep it professional.
Yep.
But yes, she grew up in a very tiny village in the 12's Wood, and hunting was her jam.
And at this point, Silver shows up again, and he's pissed off at her for entrusting this oh-so-important task of culling animals to us, an outsider.
Again, he's very possessive about his territory.
One, like, how could we possibly fuck this up? Like, worst case scenario, we die, and then it's a win for him. Right. So, like, what are the stakes here that he's objecting to besides just being
it's an
angry?
Excuse for him to rant about outsiders. Yep. That's it. He'll
These
take every
damn
opportunity he can
outsiders
get.
Can't kill animals like we can kill animals.
Basically, yeah.
I got news for you, buddy. Every single guild kills animals, so suck it.
Bam.
And then he moves on to gripe about Lee being in the guild. To teach him a lesson, Lucienne makes him give us our next lesson.
Oh, sucker.
I feel like we didn't deserve this, but whatever. Guildmaster says so.
She says so.
Of course, he gives us the business at the start. Big surprise. We don't know anything about archery, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And then his rant drifts into like a weird nationalistic and cultural purist thing, whatever. Eventually, he gets to a point, which is that we can't read our enemies, so we can't be a good archer.
Oh, okay.
So his task is to go and shoot even more targets, this time in East Shroud. But these ones are hidden. They're not, there's easy ones from the other people.
Oh, okay.
This is a real challenge.
I see.
And they're surrounded by dangerous foes, so watch out.
Oh, no.
Except that every target that you need there are two enemy types in the area. There are, I think it's buzzards and lemurs.
Dire mites.
Yeah, sure. Like giant scorpion things.
Yeah.
And the lemurs are non-aggressive. The dire mites are aggressive. You can plug every single target you need without going anywhere near an aggressive enemy.
Yeah, you can.
So,
suck on that, Silver.
I mean, it's more like, I wish that they had made this quest hostile a little bit, because if you aggro too many, like you're boned. No, I mean, like, put us in an area that is 5 levels higher than us, and make us actually have to stealth like he says we're going to have to, because we don't. Yep. There's no fiction to mechanics connection whatsoever.
I totally agree.
If they had maybe put a bit more tutorializing into the narrative of like, actually, hey, this is how you don't aggro enemies. They actually have like a line of sight mechanic, like if you walk behind them, you won't get aggroed, and either like make you need to stealth or make you have to pick your fights carefully. Right. This would make the quest feel hostile and like he's actually setting you up for failure. As it is, though, it is indistinguishable from the other Plug Targets quests. So there's nothing that gives us the Silver flavor in the actual implementation of this quest.
I agree. And if we're going to throw shade at this particular quest and how it's designed, we would have to throw shade at literally every other quest we've ever done for an early job. There really is no challenge.
We have thrown shade plenty on these things, Jen.
Right, but like, okay, there's words about this quest they're going to send us on, or this trial they were going to send us on. And we get out there, and it's just standard operating procedure. We kill some mobs. There's nothing unique about it. There's no special technique or whatever.
I think that 20 to 25% of the time, roughly, there is a connection from words to actions. The game does do it successfully sometimes, is my point.
Okay.
Anyway, he tried to give us a challenge, but he failed because he's all talk. We go back to Silver, and we get another Wildwood supremacy rant. If we would deign to follow in the footsteps of his people, we must go to North Shroud and take out some encroaching Ixal. Their leader, Nezul Katan the Violator, must fall. Silver will not trouble himself to explain the history of conflict to us because we're not worth it. Good thing we got a podcast to tell us the history, though, Jen.
Yeah.
Take that, Silver. I won't tell you why you gotta kill these guys, but you gotta kill these guys, and it's important, but you wouldn't know any better because you're an outsider. But...
You know what happens when you assume, Silver?
You look like an ass, but he doesn't care.
That rhymed. Nice.
It did?
Yeah.
You look like an ass, but he doesn't care?
You know what happens when you assume, Silver? You look like an ass, and
yes.
you don't care.
Good job, us. As a reward, though, for doing this, he will stop saying we should be kicked out of the guild if we do this successfully.
Oh, wow. What an incentive.
Yeah.
Let me just jump right on that. I mean, I will, but not because you said so.
This is kind of a fun instance. We come in here. This is in North Shroud. The place segments off a stretch of path that goes over a stream, over a natural stone bridge, into a little, like, mini valley that's surrounded by rocks on all sides.
When I started this instance, I thought, "Ooh, this is kind of hardcore," because you are surrounded by Ixal, and you have quite a few of them to get past before you will end up in range of Nazul, and it becomes clear that you're not going to be able to fight everybody. You do have to sneak past some guys. You're going to have to fight some guys, and then get smart about it. Eventually, you will end up in Nazul's little circle there, and there's no way around it. You're gonna have to fight a bunch of these guys. However, some random helper guy, another maybe adventurer who happened to be in the area.
Yeah, this guy is a wood whaler. He's named
Miqo'te the Madder.
The Madder, as in he's mad, but more so.
I wonder who's the mad-assed.
Mad-assed?
Mad-assed?
You said maddest, but it sounded like mad-assed.
Oh, okay. His ass is real mad?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, he comes flying in.
Yeah, out of absolutely nowhere.
Out of nowhere. Who's this guy? On a chocobo. I'm like, I thought, like, wait a minute. I'm in an instance area. I thought it was another PC just, like, running through the instance. I'm like, that's not possible. So, yeah, this guy comes to help us out, which was very welcome.
Did you see his line?
Probably, but I forgot.
He says on his arrival...
Fear not, adventurer, or something like that.
No? What?
I'll save you.
If you would shut up for a second, Jen, I would tell you what he says.
No.
He says, Ixal in my forest.
Ah.
It's more likely than you think.
Is that what he says?
The last bit is my addition.
Oh, okay.
You know the centipedes meme?
No.
What? Oh my god.
The centipedes meme? There's a meme about centipedes? Like a human centipede?
Okay, so this is the original ad that's spawned it. And then here is the ye olde meme.
Centipedes? In my vagina? It's more likely than you think. All right, well then that was an appropriate joke for you to make.
Thank you. I mean, the phrasing of that
it's
sentence,
identical. Yes.
So it's
Ixali in my forest?
It's got to be intentional.
Probably.
That's all.
I mean, what a fun little Easter egg that is, because you never see this guy again.
Yep. He died by centipedes.
Gross. Should have checked his vagina.
Anyway, he has just arrived.
He helps us out.
I was expecting Silver to yell at us for getting help, but he's none the wiser.
Yeah, he's not watching us, which is weird. You'd think that he would want to monitor our behavior, and I don't know. Oh, you had help? Disqualified. Disqualified.
Anyway, though, the fight is pretty basic. You just take out all the baby Ixal, by which I mean the ads, and then you focus fire on the Violator.
The Violator.
And that's that. Silver is true to his word. After we return having done this assignment, we are upgraded from don't belong here to doesn't care if we stay or leave.
Huge. Big
Success. Lee is indignant on our behalf. She complains to the guildmaster that Silver is not acknowledging our deeds and so on.
Well, also, she thinks it was completely ridiculous to throw us in that circumstance alone. And I agree. Luckily, we had help from our bro. Lucienne says, like, really, is that your impression of what happened here? Because in my, deep knowledge of Silver and his neuroses, he knew very well that our character would be able to handle it just fine. And I knew that because when he said, I don't believe you're going to be able to do it, he covered his mouth. And when he covers his mouth, that's a tell. That means he's lying.
That means his head...
his head and his heart are not in congress with one another.
Yes.
Aww,
so this
a little chip in the armor.
This fucking sucks. Like, just because he's doing his little mouth covering does not excuse the shit that's spewing from his mouth.
We agree. It's vile and hateful.
So thanks, Guildmaster, for explaining that him laying it into us constantly is actually okay because he doesn't mean it.
We just don't understand him fully.
So after that task, we are now officially an archer. Congrats. And we have our first assignment as an official archer to respond to a petition from our sometimes acquaintance Buscaron.
Yep.
Down at the Buscaron's druthers. All three of us, Lee, Silver, and ourselves, are assigned to this mission, despite Silver saying he's better off alone.
Oh, what a surprising thing for him to say.
Lee makes another reference to Silver being a former god's quiver. She says he's not a lowly quiver man anymore. And then he calls her a savage, of course, and we're off to a great start here, team. Down in South Shroud, Buscaron prepares to brief us on the poachers, and Silver starts complaining that this is a job for the whalers and the... Wait, no, hang on.
And the quiver.
No, he says the task is beneath us because the whalers and the quiver will not even do it.
Oh,
so why
yikes.
should we do this as well?
Oh, okay, I see. Yep.
But don't worry. These are no common poachers. These are Pawa Mujuk's gang. This shuts up Silver, but we don't know why yet. And I had remembered that there was something weird between Silver and Pawa from the last time I played, but I didn't recall what. But if you're watching for it, he starts acting very weird right now. And I'm serious. Like, yeah. I recall there was something, but I didn't recall the details. But I was noticing his strange mannerisms that he adopted. So the game does a good job of making him behave oddly because something is amiss here, but we don't know what yet.
There, yeah. We'll
see in a minute that he takes pains to not be seen by Pawa when we meet her for the first time. So there's never a moment when she sees him because he's either hiding or like ducked behind something or whatever at all times when we're in the encounter with her.
Huh. Neat.
This situation is further complicated by the fact that Buscaron and some other bandits nearby called the Red Belly Gang have an agreement of live and let live.
Right. So that's why he couldn't call the God's Quiver or the Wood Whalers, because if they got involved, the Red Bellies would be like, oh, I'm sorry, are you going back on our agreement? So yes, he wants us to deal with it instead.
Our first task is to split up and scout the area. We do so and we find some traps, some arrows, and some empty mead bottles lying around, but no poachers yet. We get back to the druthers. Silver gives us the rundown on Pawa then. She's the most infamous poacher to walk the Twelveswood. She leads a gang of Miqo'te hunters. Silver proposes we try to get the whalers or the God's Quiver to deal with the problem instead of us, which Lee refuses. This gang of poaching Miqo'te is actually very Miqo'te history-oriented, because there is a history of conflict between the Gridanians and Miqo'te, as they will hunt in the Twelveswood, but they were not in the fold with the elementals.
Right.
So they were not respecting the elementals' whims. They would not hunt the creatures that the elementals would allow the Gridanians to hunt, and so on. So they were not respecting the, quote, balance of the forest. So there was a lot of friction and fighting between the Gridanians and the Miqo'te. Eventually they reconciled, and a number of Miqo'te were brought into the fold of the Gridanians. However, like this gang here, there are still some rogue Miqo'te out there.
And this is relevant, as we'll see coming up.
Silver trying to say we should invite the Whalers or Quiver in is him again trying to get out of this conflict that is brewing between him and Pawa.
Mm-hmm.
But Lee says no.
Let's examine your clues. Okay, we've got an arrow. We got a bear trap. And then we've got a pile of mead bottles. It's clear that they are so old that they predate the Druthers itself. You think, oh, well, weird then. Okay. A little bit of a role play situation here where you can use, what would you present to Silver first? All right, here are the arrows. He's like, it's a poacher's arrow. Who gives a fuck? All right, how about the poacher's trap, the iron trap? It's used everywhere. Who gives a fuck? Okay, the mead bottles that you said that didn't relate at all.
It's garbage. Who gives a fuck?
Right, and then Lee's like, yeah, but why do they smell fresh? If they were decades old, why do they smell like they were opened like yesterday? Like, ooh, the plot thickens. And this is a very decent example of Silver's talents and deduction. And he's like, oh, so way back when Buscarone was a sentry, he was bootlegging his own mead. So it makes sense that there would be a stash of old Buscarone mead in his outpost. So he's like, aha, okay, got it. So they found these guys are hanging around his old outpost. Let's go there and investigate. Solid.
As we are scouting the post, we are assailed by Pawa Mujuk herself. She looks the part. Her hair is all disheveled, and she's got a painted X across her face. Looks pretty ferocious.
Mm-hmm.
And she and her minions, aka her litter, attack us. We all hide, and there's an arrow goes flying out, and it's dodged narrowly. Pawa appears, and immediately Silver ducks behind a rock. He's like way low down, keeping himself out of sight.
See, I don't have the benefit of doing this before, so I had no idea. I was not on the lookout for this behavior, but that's really cool.
No, it's a good job on the game's part of putting this in there, even though it's not explained yet.
Yeah,
so he acts the part. He ducks out of sight. Lee says, I'll go take on Pawa, and you two take on the minions, which, surprisingly, Silver says yes. Not like, no, I'm the best, so I'm going to take her on. He's like, yeah, you do that because...
Yeah, because I can't face her.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So then we do so. There's a fight, and we fight off a bunch of normal archers, and Silvera's like, use your archery talents, and I'm like, no, I'm going to dot every single person because that's more efficient.
Indeed.
Yo. And then focus fire on the healers.
Yep.
Because games.
Not our first rodeo. Yeah, because games.
We take on the litter. Meanwhile, Lee is fighting Pawa.
Yes.
Lee's about to shoot Pawa, but Pawa fires an arrow first. Lee gets hit in the arm, drops her bow, and then Pawa's about to fire a second arrow, finishing her off, when out of the bushes, Silver fires an arrow at Pawa, knocking her bow out of her hands, and then Pawa retreats.
Clever girl.
A little bit anime that he shot the weapon and not her face.
Indeed.
But
yes.
Whatever.
This is a more significant moment in hindsight. So he has decided to save the quote-unquote savage's life and put himself back into Pawa's, I guess, sphere.
Yes.
And like, okay, all right, I can't hide from her anymore.
Before we get that conversation, we go back to Buscarone, who's like, well, I guess you guys fucked up, so I'll call in the Whalers, which doesn't go anywhere because they're like, we're too busy for this shit.
Fair.
Not really.
They got hordes of Ixal to deal with.
I guess.
Yeah. You know, poachers aren't unique in the 12th Wood.
It's true. And then we go back to the guild and report that we failed. Lucien's like, oh, well, your survival at all is a testament to your skill.
Great.
In which case, why would you put us on this assignment where Buscarone knows the identity of the gang if this is so dangerous that we are going to survive only by our skill and not succeed?
Yeah, I guess the only way that makes sense is if Buscarone didn't tell Lucien that this is Pawa's gang.
maybe do some more due diligence on your tasks there, Guildmaster.
I also feel like Buscaron had a responsibility if he didn't tell Lucienne, though I feel like he would have. Though I don't... Okay, you know what? No, there was a miscommunication somewhere in there. Not our fault.
That, or she's just being nice. You kind of fucked up, but I'm going to tell you in a nice way.
Well, thank you.
I think that is, of the Guildmasters, Lucienne's track record with Silver and with this assignment do not put her in a good light, really. This is in the realm of fan theory, but she seems like a less honest Guildmaster than most of them that we encounter.
Either that, or she's just probably seen her fair share of people behaving poorly, and I'm not your mother, I'm not your wet nurse. I don't know. But no, we wouldn't have a very interesting quest if Silver had been neutered in that way.
That's true, but we can still say that she's bad at being a Guildmaster, which allows this situation to develop.
True. Like, he's putting people at risk with this stuff, because he was so concerned with avoiding an interaction with Pawa that he let us kind of handle things when he should have been the more senior member of the guild and behaved that way, and not letting two people that he considered not valid members of the guild to handle business. Also,
in the kind of contextual assumptions, he has presumably driven away less thick-skinned members than we are from the guild, too. Weakening the guild overall with his shit.
Yeah.
We're back at the guild now, and everyone is having a bad time. Silver is going to quit the guild and take the fight to Pawa himself, and he finally spills the beans. In his own dark past, he was kicked out of the God's Quiver because he had Pawa cornered, but she fed him a sob story about her having a wounded comrade who she had to go save, and then he let her go like a chump.
Mm-hmm. That's rough.
Lee wants to quit too.
Yeah, oh my god. The beginning of this quest is like level 25, yeah. So the little splash text at the bottom of the quest window is, Silver and Lee are having issues. It looks like you're going to have to, jump in and mediate. I'm like, great. Explosive conflict management action. And that's exactly what we do. Go talk to them and handle their problems. Figure out what the fuck. Okay, I'm here to learn, but I'll go ahead and do this. So we do. And Silver's like, I'm quitting, blah, blah, blah. Let me go to Lee. I'm quitting, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck?
Lee also tells us more of her backstory too.
Yes.
Which, again, makes this a very Miqo'te quest. She came from some small village or whatever, where she lived with her family who are Miqo'te, and also, I'm assuming, other Miqo'te as well, because of her shortbow Miqo'te background, which gets reinforced in just a little bit. But then during the calamity, the village was destroyed and she lost her family, and now she's come to the big city to try and have a fresh start. But she feels like she is not allowed here because someone won't stop telling her she's an outsider 24/7.
Right.
So she feels like she doesn't belong here.
Weird.
And is now going to go and leave. She won't tell us where, but she'll tell us if we meet her in the South Shroud at a remote location.
Suspicious.
Yes. So we do.
I swear to God. Okay. So there was a seed planted in my head where I'm like, all right, I feel like Lee, maybe she's a double agent. Like she's secretly, maybe she's, Pawa's long lost sister, or she's a spy for Pawa's gang, or something. I don't know what it was, but there was I think it was when they were in Buscaron's druthers, and they were and we were talking about, I think the wood whalers and stuff should probably handle this, right? Mm-hmm. And Lee kept kind of hand waving this whole thing away, saying it's not worth our time, it's not our problem, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, she's in on this. She's trying to get us to turn a blind eye and leave them alone because she's got some sort of invested interest in Pawa's gang. And I'm like, I'm watching you, Lee. Totally off base.
That's a fair assumption. I had recalled a niggling feeling of Silver being wrapped up in this, so I wasn't looking for that thread. But given what you knew at the time, Jen, I think that's a very fair suspicion.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I was waiting for that other shoe to drop. Of course, then
it kind of does.
It kind of does. But before this happened, those suspicions had been kind of satisfied. I'm like, I don't think that's an issue. That's not the problem.
Yep.
But then she does this, and I'm like, I fucking knew it, but not quite. So she's feeling so much on the outs and so disconnected with her heritage by pursuing archery in the guild and living in Gridania. And she's having a real, just an internal conflict. And unfortunately, the closest thing that she has within reach to get back to those roots is Pawa's gang. And that sucks. We're standing there, and Pawa's gang comes up, and Pawa says,
"This is so ill-advised to invite us to her defection. It feels like a cry for help, almost."
Oh, well, yes. So she's like, her third eye, her vision here about the greater picture is still very narrow. She invites us because there's probably some subconscious hope that we will join her, because she's bonded with us, and she wants probably that third party validation that the choice she's making is correct. And so if we accept the invitation, then her choice she feels less guilty about it. But at the same time, her inviting us is kind of dangerous for us, because I can't imagine that Pawa is happy to see yet another guildmaster from Gridania show up. So there's either the hope, there's the hope that we will join and validate her decision, and then there's the hope that maybe we'll talk her out of it. So she's not there yet.
We show up in this clearing and meet her. In comes Pawa and her gang.
Mm-hmm.
And Lee's like, "Hey, can this guy join too?"
Right.
Did you respond with the passive or the no?
I said absolutely not. She's like, "Please don't tell, blah, blah, blah." I'm like hell I won't, I think is the actual line. Lee responds like, "Oh my god, please, blah, blah, blah." And so there's like that's when Pawa takes the opportunity to say, "I don't need your wishy-washiness in my gang. And your invitation is hereby rescinded." I'm like, "Good, great. Thanks for bringing me, because this is a stupid fucking thing for you to do, Lee."
Lee's like, "Oh shit, now what do I do? Let's go here," which is the Bannock, the old training grounds. And then we go there, and she's like, "Now we must fight." Yeah.
Show me everything that you've learned. Show me everything that Gridania has taught you. Thinking that it's either going to again, one of two things. Like she's looking for an answer of some kind. Either our training is going to be so subpar that will be some sort of passive validation of her decision to leave, or we will be so impressive that it will convince her to stay.
The fight to find out the truth of our hearts is a genre thing I don't like. We must fight to find out what is not being said.
I need the threat of death to be able to clear my mind, and which is something that I personally can connect with, because sometimes I need the threat of death in order to do laundry, or vacuum the couch or something. It takes it takes a hell of a fucking movement to get me to do something sometimes. So I get it. Sometimes I'm just, effort, and it takes an act of God.
We do that. We have a nice bow fight, shooting each other, not like having a contest of archery, but we shoot each other with arrows.
Mm-hmm.
And then she calls in vultures to attack us also.
She's at a desperate crossroads.
There are two types of these kind of duels for non-lethal stakes in this game. There's the melee ones where we have a melee fight, which feels kind of realistic because
sparring is a legit thing.
Yes. But if we are fighting with ranged weapons, and
someone's gonna die.
There's a more ridiculous one with machinists later on, which I will gripe about when we get there. But so we are shooting arrows at each other until one person runs out of health. This breaks my immersion because you can't pull a punch with an arrow.
Right.
You have to fire it at a minimum velocity to have it actually go through the air and hit the target.
Maybe we're shooting arrows with bean bags on the ends or something.
Sure. I mean, that could be the case, but
no. This is an opportunity for suspension of disbelief.
I know. I bite my tongue and go with it, but this tests it quite a bit because these are lethal weapons here that we're shooting for fun back and forth.
I think it would be more appropriate if she had picked maybe a big fat enemy and we both fought them together, so she could still see our prowess in battle.
That's the Lancer King of the Bramble Patch.
There we go. Yeah.
Style. Yep. Anyway, that is what happens though, is we have a bow off, and this opens up Lee's eyes as we've been taking in all the guild's teachings, both the shortbow and longbow techniques. whereas she was hung up on her ancestry, much like Silvere was, and she was not listening so much as just keeping her own counsel.
Right. She had she had blinders on, I think, is what she said.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was a very narrow, it was a very small target for her, and she needs to make that target bigger.
Her resolve to stay with the guild is reawakened, and she will now embrace its techniques fully.
Huzzah.
She also forgives Silvere in this moment because she's like, he was only trying to teach me the value of the Elezen techniques. And I'm like, no, he wasn't. He was being a condescending fucking asshole.
Yeah.
But she's like, oh, now I'm on board with Lucian. He's really has a heart of gold, and he just means the best.
This is called codependency.
So I rolled my eyes heavily at that line, but...
I mean, if she is willing to forgive all of the uses of that savage slur, then okay, that's her decision.
It's true. It is.
I mean, that is taking the high road.
That's debatable, I think.
Because she's going... Well, okay, no. The fact that she can kind of move past it in a way, yes. But when she frames it in a way like, oh, he was just trying to do what's best for me, okay, well, that's delusional.
Yep. So we go back to the guild after all this stuff happens. We find Lucian trying to talk Silvere out of facing down Pawa alone. We offer to help again, but he refuses and he just leaves. However, Lee, after her awakening, expresses her feelings in the best way possible, making, I think, a pretty good argument to him about why he should accept her help because, you know, she has a similar thing as him where she has her own traditions, but she's had to open her eyes. Mm-hmm. And she's like, if I can't you? And Silvere says no. And leaves.
Lies.
He covers his mouth with his hand, though.
Yep.
So...
I've never considered you friends. Do not follow me. And like, oh, that means you guys are my friends. Please follow me.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Gross.
We see you.
However, we are not going to accept this answer, so we follow him to South Shroud, and we find him wounded and about to be finished off by a bunch of poachers. Mm-hmm. We defend him, and then he's all like, I didn't even want your help. I had it covered.
That old chestnut.
But then Lee finally convinces him to accept our help by telling him that he really likes us.
You like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward?
Maybe I'll stick around so I can tell you how much you suck.
Fine. Whatever you gotta justify in your brain.
So at last, we're on the same side. Silvere tells us he has taken a bone whistle from these poachers he was fighting so that he can lure Pawa out of hiding. And we're going to be bait, but he promises that he'll have her back.
I believe him.
I do also, because it's the first nice thing he said, pretty much. Mm-hmm. So we lay a trap with our character as bait. We head to this little remote pond, which anyone who has done hunting logs probably recognizes because...
Yeah, you have to find those Fs.
Exactly. This is the place for bark Fs in South Shroud. We sound the whistle, the poachers find us and prepare to take us out. And then Silvere and Lee assail them with arrows. The real fight begins, and the three of us take on the poachers. Silvere says he'll take on Pawa while we kill the ads. We do, then all team up together against Pawa. Yeah. She is super tanky.
Yeah. Good.
And then when she gets low on health, she begins to fire these oiled arrows at us, which drop a big ground
Fire
area.
AoE,
yeah, on the ground.
Which is cool. Do we get that? Do we get that eventually as Bard?
No.
God damn it. But it's cool.
It is cool.
Like, I want oiled arrows. Why don't we get oiled arrows? We should steal the tech from Pawa.
I mean, I guess like Summoner and Ninja get ground AoEs too, so yeah, that would...
There's definitely yes, that's definitely a thing. Like, Summoner has one. It's the wind. Give us oiled arrows.
You can yell that at Yoshi P if you want to.
Fine. Here I go to Twitter. 1 second.
Oh no.
No, fuck Twitter.
Still though, even with all that stuff, she's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Especially with Bard, where there's no range commitment or cast bar commitment. You can just walk away from the fire.
Though I guess if you're really bad at it, you could just completely cover the arena in flame. But, you know, whatever.
Pawa flees when she's almost finished off, and we give chase. After some implicit off-screen cat and mouse, she has the drop on us. She's on a cliff overlooking our characters. But wait, Lee and Silvere get the drop on her. And Lee thunks her with an arrow, dead on.
Different. Well, yes. However, as Pawa is knocking her arrow and we are in her sights, Silver, who has snuck up behind her, says, "And I only thought you had eyes for me." And she turns around, there he is crouched, and when she does that, Lee pops up, boom, hits her somewhere, knocks her off the cliff into the water below.
See, I thought she was dead after this.
Me too.
But no, she's alive.
She crawls out.
Well, she crawls out, and then they're gonna tend
Take
to
her
her
somewhere,
wounds and
right,
put her
yeah,
in jail.
Yeah.
Fine.
Nobody dies. Well, except for the Lancer guy, but yeah.
I just wish that this game not being very lethal is fine. I just wish that when they did have a death, or rather, I just wish that when they had a serious wound being shown, it was a death and not like this whole, I don't know how to feel for 5 minutes until they tell me if the person's dead or not. Because it is not the most consistent at signaling when a wound is fatal or not.
Yeah,
and
no idea.
some wounds that look fatal are just like, oh, they're fine.
Yeah.
So
they're just real tired.
Yes.
But I liked that moment quite a bit. I thought that was pretty sweet. Silver finally kind of came to grips with his past and his major fuck up. Faced that fear, essentially. And then teamed up with Lee to flank her and get it done. Bravo. Growth.
We go back to the guild, and it's congratulations all around. We are now a full archer. We got so good we got kicked out of the guild.
Love it.
We have helped our guild mates grow up, even though Silver is still prickly, but everyone now knows he doesn't mean it, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's
we
the
did
quest.
It. Yay.
We had a brief chat after the fact and decided to slip a Miqo'te feature into this episode, as this is the highest concentration of Miqo'te action in all of the 1 to 15 content.
Outside of Limsa Lumensa, anyway.
Fair, I guess. They feature more as a people here versus as people that are Miqo'te.
Right.
In this quest, especially. So let's talk about some Miqo'te, Jen.
Let's do it.
As any player would know, the Miqo'te are the cat people of this game. Distinct, though, from the Hrothgar, which are...
Big cat people.
Big cat people. So, cat ears, cat tail, feline mannerisms, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Cat's light.
Mostly fleshy cat people.
Oh my god, gross. I do not like that phrasing. The Encyclopedia Eorzea says that as a peculiarity of this race, there are far more cat girls than cat boys, which I wonder is like a meta nod to the fact that
everybody wants to be a cat girl.
Yes.
Probably.
So the Miqo'te are hunters that migrated to Eorzea during the Age of Frost, as their home had thinned out in terms of like the hunting, the game there, and so could not sustain them. So they came here to more verdant hunting grounds. They are, however, among the least suited to life in the city-states, as we see with Lee in this quest here. Many Miqo'te still live as nomadic hunters. Their lifestyle also makes them well suited to adventuring. There is a patriarchal and a matriarchal clan in the Miqo'te. The Seekers of the Sun are the patriarchal bunch. They have narrow vertical pupils like a cat's are during the day. I would imagine these should change based on the light levels, but in the game as they're shown, the Seekers always have vertical slits no matter what time of day or location they're in. Mm-hmm. And the Seekers of the Moon, the
Keepers.
The Keepers of the Moon always have round pupils.
Yeah, like a palace cat.
Yes. Unsurprisingly, many Seekers will follow Azema the Warden, as Azema is said to be the Keeper of the Sun.
Makes sense.
Yep. Seekers are mostly found in Eorzea's arid regions, and we'll see several of them much later when we go to Gyr Urbania.
Yes.
There are, as you mentioned, Jen, a fair number of them in Limsa Lumensa as well, because maybe pirate life is like a nomad's life.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's also a major like port of call.
A nomad of the sea. Also the fish.
Trade point.
There are 26 seeker tribes. They believe it was divine fate that there are 26 letters in the Eorzean, aka English alphabet. So after migrating to Eorzea, each tribe took one of the letters as their tribe name. So we have an M tribe and a R tribe.
And a G tribe.
Yes.
And an F tribe. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the names, of course, are letter apostrophe that character's name.
So you can pronounce it with or without. And there's a level of familiarity if you refer to someone with that prefix dropped. So if you were to refer to Ishtola, she would be Shtola. And Minago would be just Nago. She's Alamegan.
Yes.
Yeah.
As mentioned, seeker tribes are patriarchal. There will be a breeding male in every group, and any other males that want to be in charge either must challenge the breeding male or go found their own tribe.
Non-breeding males, they have the suffix tia, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the breeding male's name is Nun. So it'd be like...
Raha Nun.
I'm surprised there are not more characters that use Nun as their surname, as like a I fuck kind of joke. Because I see Tia a lot.
A lot.
But I'm surprised there are not more people who are like, I'm a player, so I'm going to be Nun.
I'm going to be a Chad Miqo'te.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is interesting.
Surprising that that's not more in the meta, naming meta.
There are so many sociology thesis papers just waiting to be culled from this game.
Right?
Very interesting.
And then the other tribe are the Keepers of the Moon. These are round-eyed Miqo'te, as mentioned.
They're not a tribe, right? They're a
what did you call it? You're right. It's not a tribe.
Is it a race?
It's like a sub-race.
Okay.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like the Dusk Whites and the Wildwoods.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure they have some connection way back, but then also they can intermingle too, obviously. So
sure.
Anyway, the Round Eyes keep with the nocturnal theme, of course, of them being the Keepers of the Moon. Many keepers follow Memphina, the moon goddess. Weird. Fitting with our archer quest, most keepers live in the Black Shroud. It makes sense because we have the seekers in the desert where it's probably pretty bright all the time, except at night. But even during the daytime in the shroud, we have the dense canopy above us, making things dark even in the day.
Astute.
Thanks, Jen.
One of the key characteristics of desert is a preponderance of sun. That was really cute. Yeah, the Seekers of the Sun.
I'm just here to put it all together, Jen.
Right, yeah, because the desert traditionally is very sunny. And
Jen.
The forest
Jen.
Can be less so.
Thank you, I covered that.
Yes.
Way to follow my footsteps, Jen.
No problem. Just paraphrasing.
Thanks.
To communicate to you that I understand what it is you're saying.
Anyway, to actual content, Jen. Back at you.
That's some content for you.
Like we discussed, the Keepers and the Gridanians have a frictious history because the Keepers would poach without any sort of respect for the, quote, balance of the forest or the elementals or whatever. And the Gridanians are like, elementals say this, so we got to do this. So there has been warfare in the past between the two groups, but for the most part, they are reconciled. And the Keepers are now in the fold.
Mm-hmm.
However, like Pawa's tribe that we have in this quest line, there are still some Keepers that do their own thing. As far as their society goes, the Keepers have a matriarchal society where there will typically be groups of 2 or 3 different families that hunt together that form the tribe. That's it. That's a Miqo'te.
That's a Miqo'te.
What do you think, Jen?
I liked it a lot, actually.
I did too.
Yeah.
I think this is by far the best Gridania class quest.
Agreed. Though we did have, we had a lot to say about the Conjurer quest.
Not good though.
Yeah. It was trouble. It was problematic in a lot of ways. But this, of course, there are some things here and there. But overall, I thought the story arc was really satisfying.
I agree. Also, I think this shows the city's flavor far better than the actual main story quest does. In this quest line, there is the tensions between the old guard of Gridania and the newcomers.
Yep.
We have various groups featured that operate in the Twelveswood. We see the Miqo'te, we see the Wildwoods, we understand the part of the Wood Whalers and the God's Quiver. We get our Ixal. We have poachers as well. So kind of seeing that the forest is not a monolithic entity of tree hugging. It's actually a very place that's very much in depth. And we can see how these kind of parts all work together or don't work together as the case may be.
Yes.
This is all shown in this quest line, whereas you would think that Gridania is a bunch of just, I don't know, like, I can't even take away a synopsis from the main story quest. It's a bunch of errands is what it is.
Right, yeah, there's the mention of the Ixal, but, as the general, I guess, I'm not going to say the word MacGuffin because you're the word MacGuffin. But it's the greater threat that rallies all of Gridania kind of together. So this, however, is because of the individuals involved, we get a much better idea of, like you said, old guard Gridanian Elezens versus newcomer post-calamity Miqo'tes, and how these two factions in certain areas of the city in the Twelveswood have not blended very well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because before this, it hasn't been a focus. It's part of the lore, but it's not a focus.
Yeah.
To see these little prejudices come out and people, learning and growing and embracing their fellow Gridanian.
This quest has the same issue where it takes a while to get going because the class quests are all too long for their requisite 6 levels, as in 6 stages. Mm-hmm. But once this gets going, it doesn't stop. It doesn't have any dead go kill animals and come back levels.
Weird break, like in Lancer, where you have that do nothing shit.
Yep. So, good job. I'm a fan.
Yeah, same.
Nice.
That'll do it for...
Any other comments on this quest or anything, Jen?
The Warrior of Light, we're really good at conflict management.
If the conflict can be punched into submission, yes.
Now, we're frequently utilized by guildmasters, Eorzea over, to step in when they've got an ornery guildling.
Yeah.
Or an ornery guildmaster himself, Hammond.
Next time, we have our recap episode where we'll be talking about our experiences in cross-section. And then after that, we have our Battle of Cartano episode coming up. I'm looking forward to that one, Jen.
Me too. As we don't get a whole lot of, unless you played 1.0, I guess, you don't really have any fucking idea.
Yeah, it's super important, but the game tells you next to nothing about it.
It tells you what you need to know. But we're all moving forward collectively as inhabitants of
Hydaelyn. Wow.
So, if you have shit to say to us, you can find us on the internet. Good old email at podreturnffxiv@gmail.com. And as always, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will see you next time.